All right, chat, we've got our final round. The Rayleigh team and the Green Zoro team making it into the finals. The Rayleigh will face off against Zoro. Maybe a match. They might not show that matchup just simply because they showed it a lot during the OP12 format. So I bet they show one of these two Ace versus Imu matches that we've got here in this finals. I believe that this is the finals as well. If not, I'm going to sound stupid, but look, listen, I'm not only a fan of Nen Garden's high quality and incredible designs on their playmats, like the King of Hearts, the Cotton Candy playmat, or even some classics like the Heavenly Yaksha, but I'm also a huge fan of Nen Garden's designs outside of playmats like this t-shirt that I'm wearing right now, as well as a variety of other products if you don't want to get a playmat like stickers, pins, desk mats. You can also jump in on designs that are not One Piece that I highly recommend, like the Final Boss playmat for Pokemon, or the White Devil playmat for Gundam. Make sure to click the link in the description below and use my code at checkout, Atrocious. It helps the channel a ton, and it helps support one of my favorite people in the community. Thank you, Nen Garden, for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to the video. Can I get some poggers in the chat? Imu being able to cycle in cards in hand, try to find all the pieces of the puzzle, debated as the best deck in format, especially in the early weeks of the One Piece trading card game, right? Being able to play out a stage at the beginning of the game, as well as being able to cycle that hand, like I mentioned, is going to have to go up against Ace, right? Ace, being a 3-life, 6,000 power Whitebeard Pirates leader, has two different effects. One, an on opponent's attack once per turn. You can discard one card from your hand, and up to one of your opponent's leaders or characters gets minus 2,000 power for the battle, and then Dawn times 1 once per turn. If you take damage or a character with an original power of 6,000 or more is KO'd, you draw 1 cards. This deck is very good at drawing cards and is one of the key strong points, as well as being able to cheat out several of the new gates. And chat, especially for the lists, I will be posting the list that the team for the One Piece trading card game goes and posts, right? Because they always post the first and second place teams and their list on Twitter. I will be posting that in the Discord server. So whether you're watching in the VOD, whether you're watching that live right now, go ahead, check out the link to our Discord. If you're watching on YouTube, just go ahead, check out the description. There's a link there. And if you're on Twitch watching in the live chat, just do !Discord for a command. So it looks like the Imu playing the Empty Throne to start out this game. Both players getting their starting hands. Is that a TFT shirt that guy's wearing, chat? Looks like the Imu keeping their starting hand, does not want to get rid of it. Can't remember who's going first in this matchup. I'd imagine the Imu probably would want to go second, right, to be able to hit 10 Dawn. The Ace maybe not caring as much. Probably also wants the even curve, right, to play 4-drop Marco, to play any of these 10-drop new gates in the 8-cost event. Does have some 1-drops to be able to utilize with that Izo Searcher. You've also got the Otama, draw 2, trash 1, and a couple new gates in there, as well as a Thatch, as well as this Imu having a couple searches of his own, so really understandable how he wanted to keep this hand, right, with the Saint Charlia and also the 5 Elders 1-cost event. Also has a Saturn being one of the best cards of Imu. We see that guy all the time. And we're off. The Ace is going to be going first in this match, is going to go ahead and start out playing an Otama. So between the Izo and the Otama in this, is going to fare with the Otama on that draw to trash 1 is the big reason why Nami got banned. Does have to think about which card he wants to pitch. Did end up finding one of the EB02 Yamatos, but pitching the Thatch instead. That's a 2K Thatch that we're kind of seeing in these decks. And now moving into the Imu's turn, going to be a 2-Dawn turn, is probably just going to do a double search on here. So starting out with the search event, looking at that top 3, probably going to grab that 2K Celestial Dragon if I had to take a guess and put it into the hand. is maybe thinking about the one-cost event. The Vivi can't grab that, one of the different tech options within this deck. If there are 10 or more cards in your trash, does gain blocker, but opts for the Celestial Dragon 2K. And now off to the Saint Shalria. That's also a mouthful to say. Is going to be another search within the top 3 for a card. And the difference is grabbing this Celestial Dragon card from the top as they grab the, memorizing the names. They do have to pitch another card in hand after that grab, so just pitching the exact card that they grabbed, now using leader effect to get rid of that character on the field and get an extra card in. Now moving on to the Ace's turn, the Emu having 7 cards in trash already on the first turn of the game. That's one of the strong suits of this deck. Is just going to go ahead with another Otama. So once again, favoring the Otama over the Izo, right? That draw 2, trash 1 just being so good within this deck, especially because you have to be a 3 life or less leader at the time that you play that in order to get that draw. Works perfect for the red-blue Ace deck. We see a Izo in the hand, a 1-drop Izo that is in here. Not something that we see all the time in these decks, but just makes it so there's so much draw, so much search, right? Especially with these Izos to be able to find your different pieces of the Whitebeard puzzle. Going to be interesting to see what he grabs. Is playing off of this 1-drop Izo from the starter decks first. And with this Izo, does have to find a Whitebeard Pirates trait, so whiffed on it, right? He did not find any of those. Yeah, because I saw an Uta in there, Uta blocker, something that's been very popular in the deck. I saw a Yamato in there, and is just going to go off and swing 7,000 power at lead. Does not want to utilize that other 1-drop Izo, so definitely tough to take a whiff there on that Izo search, but all is not lost at this point if you're the Ace. Now the Emu going to be coming in on his 4 Dawn turn. Does have a Saturn to be able to utilize if he wants to go in and try to cheat out that Saturn real quick and have 1 Dawn to be able to swing 6,000 power at leader. Might be kind of the direction that he's taking, I feel like, on this. I think has another one of the 1-drop Searcher events, so is kind of thinking what he wants to do in relation to that. But first is just going to go ahead and use leader effect to draw 1 card. Finds another Saturn at this point. And so is going to use the empty throne effect to be able to rest 3 and play a character of Celestial Dragons that is the same cost as the amount of Dawn that you have on the field, but the only amount that you have to pay for it is that 3 and resting the stage. So is going to go ahead, grab the Jupiter and put it into the hand as my cat climbs into the chair to watch the game with us. And so is going to go ahead, draw that Jupiter. Now has 1 Dawn left to work with. If he's got a Searcher event, might go ahead, try to favor that, or potentially, passes off the turn, maybe leaving the 1 for the 1-cost event that he's got in his hand as well. So now the Ace does have that 8-drop event that we've seen in these Ace decks, the I Am Whitebeard event, to be able to cheat out a Whitebeard. Can't do it now, but will do it in a future turn. Ends up using that 1-drop Izo to be able to look at the top 5 for a Whitebeard Pirate card. That Izo search going to be very nice, especially because you see a couple different options now, right? We see a Jozu already have 1 in hand. Not too many options. Looks like Jozu and a 10-drop Whitebeard. The thing about this Ace deck, even though you have a couple Whitebeard Pirates searches, you're often running a lot of non-Whitebeard Pirates cards in the Otama, right? Great draw supporter that we've already seen in this game. The different Yamatos, right? The OP13 one, the EBO2 one that we saw in there. So definitely some opportunities to whiff, or maybe have only a few options to select from, but grabbing that 10-cost Newgate from OP08 that's getting more and more popularized in these lists, is thinking about going ahead and resting 4. I don't see a Marco blocker in this Ace's hand, but just goes ahead and swings 10 at lead. Is just trying to get him down on counter. Says, you know what? If you do have that event in hand, I'm going to force you to need 2 cards to give me in order to get out of this swing. Maybe just trying to test him and say, do you actually have that in your hand? So the Imu really thinking about what he wants to do right now on this swing. Looks like he's going to be eyeing up maybe the event and 2K to be able to get 6,000 counter and get out of the swing. My game plan against Imu as ace might be push back the Imu, build a lot of hand, drop a pudding. Ooh, maybe. Pudding might be influential in this matchup if you can draw into it. So the Imu getting out of that attack and the ace passing off the turn is going to go ahead and draw 1 for turn. Now going to be at 6 Dawn at this point. Can still cheat out different characters with that empty throne. But first, swing 6 with Saturn. This 6,000 power swing is going to have to fetch a card or a life, and is going to go ahead and grab that life, and with the ace effect, draw 1 card on that once per turn, effectively being a draw 2. Looks like they found an Uta blocker and a Jozu. Might be really nice when he gets to about the 10 Dawn turn to be able to use that 8-cost Newgate I Am Whitebeard event to be able to play down a 10-drop Whitebeard, and for just 2 Dawn, cheat out this Uta as a 6-cost blocker, something that the Imu actually can't touch with the KO effect. So, but first, we got to get around this 6,000 power swing, and is going to give up a Jozu, especially because you have 1 in hand. I like getting rid of the other one, and now the Imu playing another Saturn to be able to look at that top 5. See, I'm starting to memorize the names, chat. And so does grab the Mars, I believe his name is. That's the one that does have that KO effect. Not a lot of great targets to be able to get off of this Mars, but one thing that you do need to do is be able to have every single Elder at your disposal for the Goroseis that you've got, the 10 drops to be able to play down later in the game. And so now Ace on the 7 Dawn turn is going to start out swinging 7,000 power at, I believe, the rested Saturn right now. Is going to try to control the board a little bit, minimize the amount of swings that he is going to face. And now with the 6 is probably going to bounce this other Saturn 2-hand with a Jozu. Jozu, one of the best removal cards for blue, is just going to be able, ooh, interesting, is just going to pick up double Otama. Says, you know what? I actually don't want to put that Saturn back in your hand for you to be able to search another piece of your puzzle with. I'm just going to use it to put these 2Ks down that I put down earlier in the game. I'm going to put them back in my hand. Just fill my hand with cards, fill my hand with counter. I really like that play at this point. And so the Imu now using leader effect, getting rid of that 1-cost stage, right? Because the empty throne, just a much better stage in this matchup and at this point in the game to be able to filter out. Does find a 1-drop Vivi. So the Vivi is going to have blocker if he wants to play that down, kind of to round out a turn with the Dawn, especially because he can cheat out one of the Celestial Dragons with this empty throne stage and maybe finish out the turn with the Vivi. He could play a couple different blockers, right? Because he's got the 2-drop Celestial Dragon blocker as well. Could go ahead for 6 Dawn. Just go ahead, play that 7-drop Jupiter, play the Vivi, play the 2-drop blocker. Might be something that he goes around towards and get this Saturn to swing 7,000 power. So now with this Jupiter right here, is going to make this Saturn a base 7,000 or more because of the amount of cards that you've got in trash. I actually don't know if he's got 19 or not. With that empty throne stage, if you have 19 or more cards in trash, your leader does get 1,000 powers. So we'll see if he attaches any to lead later in this turn. So is going to attach 1 swing, I believe 6 at lead. I don't think he's got 7 yet, but maybe that was 7, and using the leader effect to minus 2,000 power either way gets out of that turn with that ace leader effect. And now swinging 8,000 power at lead is going to go ahead, fetch a life, and that draw 1 from the ace. Look at all of these cards in hand for the ace. So now is going to go with that play, like I mentioned, of playing down the 2-drop Celestial Dragon blocker and the Vivi to round out the turn. Get 2 little chum blockers out onto the field to maybe protect this Saturn that you've got on the field. So now at 9 done, could go ahead and play that 8-drop I Am Whitebeard event to be able to spam out a 10-drop that you've got in your hand. You've got a couple different options in your hand. I think some of them being the OP08 version could be very, very good in trying to prevent the amount of swings coming in next turn. But I feel like a lot of times when you play that guy down, it's because you want the 5 elders already to be all out on the field, not necessarily just 1 or 2 at that point. You'd rather establish the 10-drop OP13 SR Newgate. That is the blocker, right? So the Imu now really thinking about what he wants to do with his leader effect, really thinking about what he wants to do playing on his turn. So is going to go ahead off that Jozu swing and counter out. I think both players have to be okay with it. Medicine or Med Dice, you can only have 2 trash piles if like your opponent or like a judge approves it. And especially with the 5 elders, constantly getting those 5 elders out of the trash, the opponent was probably like, yeah, I don't really care. But technically, yes, you're not normally allowed to, but there was probably some like approval that was given in some sense. But anyways, after playing that, I Am Newgate is going to get that 10-drop Newgate out onto the field. And with that 10-drop Newgate from OP13, is going to be able to give 2 Dawn to both a character and leader. So gets a 5,000 power swing with Izo. And now the 8,000 power swing, fetching both of those blockers in that combination to keep this Saturn alive. So establishing a 12,000 power blocker, very nice, right? Especially with the Imu only having 4 cards in hand. I feel like this ace could be in a pretty good spot right now, right? Especially if he tries to play the other 10-drop Newgate from OP08 in this next turn. But the Imu still at 3 life right now. A lot riding on this match. The 2 top dogs within this format. A lot of people considering these to be the 2 best decks in the game currently, battling it out against each other. Definitely a matchup that you're going to want to study, going to want to see a lot of reps with, whether you want to play Imu or whether you want to play Ace when that comes out in the West. So sitting at a full 10 Dawn turn, right? Probably going to be using the empty throne option and really just thinking about at this point how he wants to distribute the 6 Dawn. So is going to go ahead now, swing 8,000 power at the ace. We've seen this a couple times throughout the tournament where 8,000 power with these different elders is a really good number into ace, right? It fetches multiple cards for the ace out of their hand. So is going to go ahead, use leader effect, pitching away the I Am Whitebeard event, and getting rid of more counter as well to be able to get out of that swing. The Imu now using his leader effect to get rid of the Saturn and draw 1 card is nice to be able to just go ahead, especially when you're using Gorosen later in the turn. Just another 8,000 power now coming in with this Elder. So counting the amount in trash, has exactly 19 cards in trash right now at this point. So the empty throne is going to give his Imu leader plus 1,000 power right now. Definitely a nice observation as well for the Imu to just get rid of that Saturn to get up to 19 to get that extra boost. And so is going to take this last life right here. And now off with the leader effect, is going to draw 1 card. Plenty of non-counter cards in this hand. We see the 4-drop Marco. We see 10 2-drop Newgates, a Yamato, as well as a Gold D Roger. The Gorosei is going to come down with that empty throne. Go ahead, use the activate main to rest 1 Dawn, trash 1 card from hand, clear the entire board, and play out each of the 5 elders. Getting that Saturn effect first is going to be able to go ahead and find a card. Going to be another Gorosen to be able to utilize in the next turn, potentially. And probably not opting for the KO effect, right, with no real good targets, because you really feel bad if you try to use it on one of these Izos. Now has to think about with this Venus, is going to go ahead and swing at the Jozu, especially with the when attacking minus 2,000 power on the Jozu, is going to be 7,000 power at a 5,000 power character onto the field. So we'll see if this ace gets out of it, how much he actually commits into this. Does have plenty of 2Ks, right? We know he has those 2 Otamas that he bounced back into his hand. We see another Jozu in the hand. I think he's got 3 Otamas in general. Is going to go ahead and use the Izo effect. That activate main or on opponent's attack Izo effect is going to be able to draw one and bottom deck one card. So more than likely filtering out a card that he is not going to need at any point in this game. I think drawing into a Yamato and bottom decking a Yamato from EBO2. So does he have leader effect? I don't think he has leader effect anymore. I think he used it earlier in the turn, but is going to go 2K, 2K to be able to keep this Jozu alive. I think if you're the Imu, you're really curious about the 2K, 2K pitch, right, on a 7,000 power swing, because the 2K, 1K would have been able to get out of it, but he over-countered, went up to 9,000 on a 7,000 power swing, and so is just going to attach 2 more swings, 7,000 power at that Jozu, fetches the block from the new gate, and now with 2 Dawn up, is thinking about playing 1 for the Vivi blocker, but passing off the turn. Does have 2 blockers already on the field, does not want to replace one of these characters for another one, and we move on to the Ace's turn. Another draw is a Garp Searcher, right? The Garp Searcher, very nice, being able, because he is an ace, is going to be able to find a 3-cost or higher, which is a majority of the deck in this one. Especially helps find your unsearchable pieces like the Yamatos, as I was mentioning earlier. But starts off just with a 6,000 power swing. I think this going to leader, and is just going to be a block. That blocker, the Warcry, I think his name is going to be able to draw one with that on KO effect, and continues on in the turn. Still has the Jozu to swing as well at this point. Might try to go in and play stuff like Marco, maybe just filtering the hand a little bit with the counter and the non-counter. Now starts off swinging 7,000 power, is going to go ahead at lead, I believe, is going to go ahead and fetch this 1-cost event for plus 3,000 power, get off with the Equilibrium counter event, and now playing the 10-cost Newgate. So this 10-cost Newgate in OP08 is great in this deck, right? If your leader's type includes Whitebeard Pirates and you have 2 or less life, until the end of your opponent's next turn, all of your opponent's characters cannot attack unless they discard 2 cards from their hand. It only works for 1 turn, but it's a great way against a deck like Imu that swarms out all these bodies to really force Imu to be able to get rid of everything in their hand just to get a swing in. So we'll see how this Imu reacts to the 10 drop. We know another one's in hand, and I don't think this ace player probably minds playing them in back-to-back turns within this matchup. One of the reasons why ace is such a good deck right now, especially with that event from the starter deck that cheats out a Edward Newgate on an 8 Dawn turn. This match feels kind of close, but with this swing right here on the Imu, only the characters have to pay 2 cards. So this Imu coming in and getting a free swing on its own, not having to pitch anything at this point. So 7,000 power. At what point do you block with this Newgate? Sorry. And with the leader effect, could just pitch a brick card in hand to be able to minus 2,000 power for a battle. So thinking about pitching this Yamato and minusing 2,000 power on the Imu is going to put it to, or I'm sorry, that's an 8,000. I'm so sorry. That's an 8,000 power swing because of the empty throne plus 1,000. So had to go ahead, pitch a 1K as well on top of that. And so now using the leader effect and now using the 1-drop event is going to be able to go in, find that one drop. It was never there event on there. Nice plus 4,000 counter for Imu, and with the empty throne, going in with a Gorosen. We see another Gorosen in the hand as well. We'll see if he pops this activate main, and it looks like he is going to do that. Or actually, no, he's just going to play the 1-cost Vivi and pass, holding the Gorosei right onto the field right now. Not clearing that board. Maybe just saying, okay, maybe you don't have that back-to-back. I'm going to be patient right now, not really try to swing with these characters and force you to have the second Newgate. Are you going to play that guy down? I think if you're the ace player right now, you just go in, swing at lead, swing 6 at lead, swing 7 at lead with the Jozu, swing 12 at lead with the Newgate, and then go ahead, pop down another one of your Papa Newgates. You've got some counter in hand, right? And he only has a few cards in hand. So I feel like you could get out of things. Starts out with the 7K swing on the Jozu, gets the block right there. I think you got to play another Newgate. Still has one blocker with that Mars on the Imu side. I feel like what you could do at this point, you could go in, you could play the 10-drop Newgate, and then the next turn, you can slam down Goldie Roger, right? You're at 0 life. If they go ahead and block, you basically just win the game, right? If you can survive the turn. So that Newgate going ahead and fetching a block. Probably not going to be swinging with the 10-drop blocker that he's gone on the field because he needs to survive in this upcoming turn. He's really thinking about attaching one of these Dawn. If he doesn't attach a Dawn, he doesn't get his leader effect off to be able to minus. So ends up swinging that 7, ends up resting the 4 for the Marco, and another 4 on top of that to go in with another Marco. Still has one Dawn open. These ace decks do go sometimes in play the 1-drop event that's plus 3,000 power, so something that the Imu needs to think about. But I think especially because you have Goldie Roger in your hand, you actually might not be overly worried, because if you can get out of this turn, especially with more characters, you could potentially like swing out with those blockers, right? The more blockers that you keep on the field, the better. So Marco, especially with that on KO effect, right, introduced in PRB02, does have that draw 2 effect. So something that the Imu has to worry about, right? More cards in hand for this ace to be able to utilize for leader effect, to be able to find some great pieces of the puzzle, and starts out once again swinging 8,000 power. Still has the Gorosen to be able to, or Gorosei to be able to utilize, right, on a 12,000 power swing. Could go ahead, swing with the Gorosei 12,000 power, and then after that, go ahead and use its activate main to swarm the entire field. So with this 8,000 power swing, is going to go ahead, use the Marco effect to draw 2 cards on the on KO effect, and because the 6,000 power or more character was KO'd, actually draws 1 more from the ace leader effect. Does have an interesting situation now too, to where if he keeps this 8-cost event in his hand, he could actually cheat out the 10-cost Newgate on the next turn and play the Uta down, and is going to be going ahead on this 8,000 power swing and go 2K 2K to get out of this one, potentially. Think really trying to save this Gorosen swing for the Marco. So Imu using leader effect to get rid of that Jupiter. Now the 12,000 power swing blocks with the Marco. Only draws 2 cards, right? Because the ace extra draw effect is once per turn. So ends up finding another 2K into the Jozu. You love to see that one. So ideally at this point, you're just trying to use this Newgate to block the leader or maybe another swing. Ends up using the search event to find a 2K. And so using the Gorosei effect, playing out all 5 of the elders after trashing 1 card in hand. Still 4 cards in hand as all come out, especially with the search coming up to 5 and getting an extra swing in, maybe trying to go at this Jozu potentially, like he did last turn. So is going to go with a Jupiter. Still could use the Empty Throne to play out a character. I don't know what you'd play out, though. If anything, you just use the Empty Throne effect to play a Gorosen out a turn early. So is going to go ahead, swing what I believe is 8,000 power. I think this game's really close, Victor. I honestly don't know who's going to win right now. Is, I think, swinging at the Jozu. So is going to minus the Jozu, and I believe swing at the Jozu. So 8,000 power into 5. Would need 2 2Ks to get out of it. He's got those in hand. But might actually be going to lead. The one thing that you do have to think about if you are going to use the 10-drop OP08 Newgate on the next turn is that he does have cards in hand. So he could just dump all of his cards in hand, and you do have to get around all of those swings. So is going to use leader effect to get rid of the Marco, minus 2,000 power to put him to 6, and he just has to give up a 1K. Is going to be an Ezo Searcher, keeping the 2Ks in hand. So the Empty Throne coming down now, no more swings, is going to be a Gorosei, like I mentioned earlier, leaving 2 up, not swinging with the Imu. So still 4 cards in hand. Oh, man, I don't know. This game's going to be so close. Is going to go off swinging 6,000 power at lead as players are hitting overtime in this one. Going to be with the overtime rules. It's going to be a couple extra turns. So now Jozu going ahead with a 7,000 power swing. Is going to counter out of that one. Looks like 2K, I think it was. Still has 2 blockers out onto the field right now. Is going to go ahead with that Newgate event. I am Whitebeard. Play down 4-8. The 10 cost, forcing all of these characters to pay 2 cards to be able to swing with only 2 cards in hand for the Imu. So especially after pitching so many cards, the Imu now only going to be able to have 1 swing in this one. Maybe a little bit more with the Gorosen and searching with the Saturn and whatnot. And the Uta coming down as well. And so is going to go ahead and draw for the effect. Still all 10 Dawn to work with. So what do you do now if you're the Imu? You can't be waiting forever, right? And especially with 2 blockers on the field, one being a 12,000 power blocker. You've got leader to swing and 1 more character on this turn. And by the way, he's got 2 blockers, one 12,000 and one 6. Yeah, what is the... I think the ace is in a really good spot because you've got a little bit of counter left. You can block like the Gorosei swing. So is going to go ahead now, swing 9,000 power. I think right now you just block with the Newgate, right? If he wants to swing with the Gorosei, he has to pay 2 cards because he only has 3 cards in hand. And so you just block with the Uta on that swing. I don't know if you really need to counter out of it. So is going to go ahead, use the leader effect, pitch 1 of the Marco, and then 2K out of that. On the 10K swing. I always forget about Empty Throne. So good job, this player, knowing the game state better than me. Maybe that's why him and his team are in finals and I am not. I mean, if he swings with the Gorosei, he's got to pitch 2 cards, which would be everything but the counter event. Right? Am I reading that wrong? He has to pay 2 cards, which you just block on the Uta. Oh, he can draw 1. He can swing 1 more time. So with the Saturn, he's going to swing with the rush guy. So now with the swing, minus is the 10 cost Newgate. Yeah, I think you just block and especially because the Roger has rush now and you're at 0 life. You just put down the Roger. Yep. And then now with the 6 at lead, does take the 1. With the 7, does take that one. With the 12, does take that one. And the Roger seals the win on that one. Ace defeating Imu. Might be Imu's worst opponent in the format heading into these championships. The start of OP13, the first stream, the second day of the 3-on-3 Cup in Aichi, Japan, has come to a close. I will be posting, because the official accounts for the One Piece trading card game in Japan, they will be posting the winning deck list and the runner-up deck list over on their social media. So I will be getting those later and posting them in our Discord server. If you want to join the Discord server, if you're on Twitch, !Discord. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to go ahead, click the link in the description below as well. Whew! The Ace team coming away with the win. The Ace needed to win it too, because you got to win 2 out of the 3 games. Great job, I think, by that Ace player. I think kind of the turn that kind of turned the tide, I feel like, was the double Marco play. Because the double Marco play allowed him to draw 5 cards on the Marco blockers, which is crazy.